Hey guys, welcome back to The Fishing Teacher. Appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and hanging with me a little bit. And guys, today we got a good old-fashioned spinnerbait video. We're gonna be talking about spinnerbait fishing. Gonna give you guys some tips and advice, everything. If you've never caught a fish on a spinnerbait, this is gonna help you out. If you caught a bunch of fish on a spinnerbait, I'm gonna share some tricks that have helped me catch more fish on it. So just a good tutorial on spinnerbait fishing in today's episode. And guys, also we'll be talking about a lot my favorite spinnerbait to throw, which is this Megabass SV3 spinnerbait. I'll link this in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description if you guys would like to pick up one. It's got the original Megabass fish head design that Megabass actually invented. Look how realistic looking that thing is. It's got the nano-coated, about 2-aught hook on it here, super stiff, super sharp. It's got a great keeper on it where you don't lose your plastic trailers. It's got a hand-tied skirt, just an awesome high-quality spinnerbait. It's got a natural little trailer already built into it with the skirt there, so I'll put that in my Tackle Warehouse link if you guys would like to try them. I think you really like them there. Okay, one of the things that I have noticed about YouTube videos is when I do a spinnerbait video, they don't get very much traction. A lot of people don't watch them, which is a mistake because the spinnerbait is an unbelievable fish catcher today as much as it's ever been in the right situation. But like a lot of lures, as they go through different phases and they age, they become situational. That's what a spinnerbait is. It's a very situational bait, but it still catches lots of fish and it catches some of the biggest fish that you're gonna catch. So I wanna give you guys sort of a few just general good tips on spinnerbait fishing that's gonna help you catch more on it. So we'll get into that in the video here. Now, first of all, let's talk about how to work a spinnerbait more than anything else. Spinnerbait fishing, when you're fishing a spinnerbait, one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give you guys is never just throw a spinnerbait out there and just reel it in. I mean, you can catch some fish doing that, but a spinnerbait, one of the things that makes it really appealing, and that's one of the things that separates the really good spinnerbait fisherman from just the average guy, is a good angler that knows how to manipulate action on a spinnerbait can make it sort of come alive. Because if you just reel that spinnerbait straight through the water, like I said, yeah, it's going to catch a few fish, but if you can manipulate that spinnerbait to sort of have a herky-jerky motion and fall and come up in a herky-jerky motion, all of that erratic retrieve that is generated from your rod manipulations is definitely going to help trigger fish. So here's a couple different ways that I work it. Let's start from top to bottom. One of my favorite ways to fish a spinnerbait is what I call burning or ripping a spinnerbait. And that's when you take the spinnerbait and just fish it real fast, right along the surface, about a couple inches under the water. Really good technique in clear water lakes. We do that a lot here in the Ozarks. It's a really good way to catch bass in the fall time of the year. So when I'm ripping a spinnerbait, I'll throw it out there, keep my rod tip high because I want the bait to stay shallow, and I'm reeling it fast like that and stop and go. I'm not really twitching my rod or anything. I'm just sort of pointing that rod up just like that. Crank it 4 or 5 times, stop it. 4 or 5 times, stop it. So it's moving fast through the water, and then it goes like that and moves fast. That gets you a lot of fish on it. The other is what I call fluttering a spinnerbait next to cover. Now this is where, you cast your bait out there, say there's a lay down log or a stump or something in the water there, and you want to cast that spinnerbait out well past your cover. So let's say we got just a stump sitting in the water. I'll cast that spinnerbait out probably 20 feet past the stump. I'll reel it fast until it gets about 5 foot away from the stump, and then I'll slow it down like that, and I'll bring it by the stump, and I'll twitch my rod like that, and then I'll just let it fall for just a couple inches. So it's coming, say the stump, it's right here at my finger, casting way out here, I reel it up fast, I slow it down. Once I get it to the cover, I jerk it like that, and then I'll let it fall a little bit once it gets past the cover, and I'll jerk it and bring it up. A lot of times, there's 3 different ways they hit it. You'll hit it when you're fluttering it or when you're shaking it next to it, and then they'll hit it on the fall, and then they'll hit it when you speed it up. So don't ever just cast your spinnerbait out. This is the thing you don't want to do. Don't ever just cast that spinnerbait and just reel it by the stump like that. Again, you're going to catch some aggressive fish doing it, but that fluttering technique is going to help you catch a lot more fish. Okay, the next one is the third one I use a lot, and this is the way that I catch a lot of big fish on a spinnerbait, and that's slow rolling a spinnerbait. Now, slow rolling a spinnerbait is when you want to keep it close to the bottom. So at the times that I'm slow rolling a spinnerbait, say if I'm fishing some deep submergent grass, like some deep hydrill or milfoil, or maybe it's springtime of the year, fall time of the year, and I think the fish are a little bit deeper, and I'm fishing like a 45-degree angle bank, and I want that bait to stay close to the bottom. When I'm slow rolling the spinnerbait, I'll throw it out there, I'll let it hit the bottom, unless there's grass, and then I'll count it down to where I think it's close to the bottom. But if I'm fishing rock or just regular non-grass situation, I'll throw it out there, I'll let it hit the bottom, and then I slowly start cranking it 3 or 4 times, and then I let it fall. And then I'll pump it maybe a couple inches, let it fall. Crank it 3 or 4 times like that, let it fall. Because when I'm fishing this spinnerbait, I want it close to the bottom. So once it hits the bottom and you reel it 3 or 4 cranks, it's gonna come off the bottom. And that's why I let it fall, so I can gauge the angle of the bank to keep it on the bottom. But I'm just wanting to keep it close to the bottom, pump it up. And when I pump it, a lot of times I'll go like that. But I'm trying to visualize the bait. I don't ever want it over about 1 foot off the bottom. That's the slow rolling technique. That works really good during the pre-spawn time of the year. And that is usually the biggest fish you catch on the spinnerbait. Is usually comes slow rolling. So that's the way that you want to fish it there. Another thing with the spinnerbait is you got a lot of different type of blade configurations. These are small double willow leaves here. A small willow leaf blade or small willow leaf blades, it's designed for speed. As you get bigger blades, like bigger, Colorados or willows like that, that's more for fishing slow. There's 2 primary things you're concerned with on a spinnerbait. One is flash, the other is vibration. In a clear water situation, you want the flash. You're not concerned about the vibration because they can see it. So if I'm fishing water visibility that's, say, I don't know, over about 2.5 foot, I'm usually always using a willow leaf blade in those situations because the fish can see it good. If I'm fishing dirty water visibility like less than 12 inches, I'm using the Colorado, the big round Colorado or Indiana blades because they put out a lot of vibration that will attract those fish that can't really see it. And blade colors for the most part is I like silver and clear water and gold or copper in stained water. I also use painted blades. Painted blades can work really good. The chartreuse or white, but the blade color has a lot to do with your sky conditions and your water visibility like anything else. In general, painted blades, gold blades in stained water, overcast conditions, silver blades, cleaner water, a little bit bright conditions with that. Skirt colors for the most part on spinnerbait, it's usually always some type of something either white or pearl or something with a little chartreuse in it. That's the primary thing with it. Occasionally I'll use a perch pattern, but my favorite is some type of a more clear, translucent, shaddy looking color like this. I just think it's more natural with a spinnerbait. If the water's dirty, then I'll put some chartreuse in it like that. Seems like they can see it a little bit better in that little bit dirtier water. Spinnerbait size. Your primary spinnerbait sizes are going to be 3/8, half, and 3/4. I don't use the 3/8 spinnerbait much. That's a light spinnerbait based upon how large your blades are. That'll really lift the bait. Because one of the things about spinnerbait fishing you got to remember is the bigger the blades, the more your bait lifts off the bottom. So the bigger the blades, the lighter the head on the spinnerbait, the slower you're going to have to reel that spinnerbait or it's going to come straight to the surface. So 3/8, half ounce, and 3/4. My favorite size of spinnerbait for the most part is a half ounce or a 3/4. Half ounce spinnerbait is just a good all around spinnerbait just for fishing around shallow cover. If you're fishing, shallower grass or isolated targets like lay down trees or along the edge of a grass bed or some lily pads or next to boat docks, can't beat a half ounce. Really good size. And again, you can change the lift on it by changing your blade size. But that's the one that is a good all around. But most of all my big fish guys have come on a 3/4 ounce or a 1 ounce spinnerbait. Large, big profile spinnerbait with larger blades on it. Not going to get the bites on it, but that's a big bait, and it attracts big fish. I mean, there's a lot of flash to them, a lot of vibration. So that's probably my favorite. If you could give me like my favorite spinnerbait setup, it would be some type of a 3/4 ounce spinnerbait, like with a number 6 willow leaf blade on it, and maybe a little number 3 Colorado in front of it. I've caught a lot of good fish on that type of a spinnerbait. You can use heavy line on spinnerbaits. I usually use 20-25 pound test on my spinnerbaits if I'm fishing it shallow around cover, 20 pound if I'm slow rolling it. If I'm burning a spinnerbait like that SV3 Megabass, I'll go to 15 because I want the extra casting distance and I'm not fishing around cover. It's usually open water. So that's my line test with it. Usually I'm using a 7.5 foot rod. I do use my flipping stick on a big spinnerbait, like the 3/4 ounce and the 1 ounce spinnerbaits. I like the flipping stick because you control that bait better. It's heavy. You can get a good hook set and move a lot of that wire in the fish's mouth. But other than that, like it's some type of a 7-footer. And like I said, the setup as far as the blade color combination, skirt color, there's tons of variables there. And a lot of it you just sort of have to experiment with. There's so many different options out there. Now, one of the things I do like is I do like some type of a pearl head on it. A lot of spinnerbaits come with like the chartreuse head. Not really a fan of that. I really like the more the natural looking colors, and I really like a red head. I know a lot of my buddies that fish in Oklahoma a lot that are spinnerbait fanatics, they paint all their heads red. So I do that quite a bit too, just paint it with red fingernail polish. And then finally, when you want to fish a spinnerbait will work 12 months out of the year. It doesn't work that great in cold winter, like when the water's in the 40s. But for me, it's like anytime that water temperature is over 50 degrees, they'll bite a spinnerbait. So your window for a spinnerbait, depending upon what part of the country you're fishing in, it could be 12 months out of the year as long as your water temperature is over 50. And 2 different periods, if you gave me 2 periods to fish a spinnerbait, one would be in the pre-spawn when the water's in the mid-50s, and the other would be in the fall time of the year when the water's in the 60s. I catch a lot of bass on a spinnerbait, slow rolling it in the spring when the water's in the 50s, and I also catch a lot of bass on it when the water's in the 60s where I'm burning it or ripping it. And as always, guys, the best spinnerbait day is a cloudy, windy day. That makes all the difference in the world. It's like, I can't tell you how better a spinnerbait is on a cloudy, windy day versus a sunny day with not much wind. It's almost like you can't even believe how much better the fishing is. You can roll through an area with a spinnerbait on a sunny day with not much wind and swear that they're not biting a spinnerbait, and go back there the next day if it's raining and windy and just wreck them. So cloudy, windy days, guys, put you on a spinnerbait. If that water's over 50 and it's cloudy and windy, get a spinnerbait on. I can promise you'll catch them better with that. So anyway, guys, this is a few of my broad spinnerbait tips. I hope it helps you guys catch some, and we'll talk later.